The Russo Brothers, the upcoming directors for Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, have just given us a ton of updates about the next two Avengers films, including Robert Downey Jr.'s process of becoming Doctor Doom, their estimated runtimes for the films, the precautions that they are taking so no leaks get out for Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars once they start filming, that is, because of course we just recently had some huge concept art leaks. And they also talk about how they are specifically going out to beat Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, which of course is great news to us because that is exactly what we want. Can the Russo brothers pull it off though? Well, it looks like Robert Downey Jr. is preparing thoroughly for his role as Doctor Doom, and we expected no less from him. He did an incredible job with Iron Man. He is Iron Man, although he is now Doom. So can he do the same for Doom that he did for Iron Man? Well, according to the Russo brothers, he is working on it hard. Now, right now, the Russo brothers are still on their press tour for their upcoming film, The Electric State, and everybody, of course, is asking them about Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. And the Russo brothers actually revealed something in one of their interviews with Jake's Takes that is really interesting. They revealed that Robert Downey Jr. came back to Marvel Studios, signed on as Doom a year before they came back, which is very kind of contradictory to what we believed happened. We knew that Robert Downey Jr. came on board first, and we knew that he wanted the Russo brothers back, but we all assumed that this all kind of happened fairly close to San Diego Comic-Con where they announced this. But that doesn't seem like it was the case. It seems like Robert Downey Jr. was Doom a whole year before San Diego Comic-Con's announcement happened. Here's what the Russo brothers said.
To go back.
Yeah.
I had a dinner with Downey about a year before we agreed to do the movie where he was trying to convince us why we should do the movie. We just didn't have a story to tell. We didn't have a way in yet. And then it hit us. Steve McFeely came up with a really incredible idea.
How did you guys react to him telling you?
Yeah.
To Downey? Yeah, we were thrilled. I mean, look, Robert is just one of the most talented performers on the planet, and for him to be motivated to explore a new character like Victor Von Doom, it was like, it doesn't get more exciting, yeah.
So if the Russo brothers were talking to Robert Downey Jr. about returning to direct the films for an entire year, that means that Robert Downey Jr. was already coming back to Marvel at least 1 year before San Diego Comic-Con, which actually tells us a lot about what Marvel Studios was planning, because San Diego Comic-Con in 2024 was July 25th through July 28th. Well, Marvel Studios fired Jonathan Majors on December 18th of 2023, which means Robert Downey Jr. was already talking with Marvel Studios about returning as Doom and agreed to do so before they fired Jonathan Majors, which means that once Jonathan Majors got arrested, Marvel Studios, although they did not fire him right away, started to work on their contingency plan. And it looks like their plan was to bring back Robert Downey Jr., but you wonder if this was going to be their plan regardless of whether he was found guilty or not. When everything that was going down with Jonathan Majors was happening, we did hear some reports from some major trade lines that were stating that Marvel Studios was thinking about moving away from Kang to Doom anyways, regardless of the Jonathan Majors situation, because he was not received that well in Quantumania. Well, the Russo brothers confirming that Robert Downey Jr. was there a full year before they decided to come back really just confirmed that report. It looks like Marvel Studios decided to bring Robert Downey Jr. back as Doom, despite whatever might have happened in that trial with Jonathan Majors. It looks like they realized the fandom wasn't exactly thrilled about the beginning of the multiverse saga so far, and Quantumania didn't perform well, and they might have associated that with Kang not being a good villain, and just decided to move on from Kang, although I definitely do not think that Jonathan Majors' Kang was the problem with Quantumania. So this is kind of a big reveal here from the Russo brothers, and Joe did go on to mention that they didn't agree to come back for over a year until they finally had that just brilliant story click in their head that Stephen McFeely came up with the Russo brothers that finally made them go, that's it. That's the story that we need to tell. So go ahead and let me know your thoughts about that in the comments down below. Now, of course, the Russo brothers have continued to do even more interviews. And Entertainment Tonight asked the Russo brothers about Robert Downey Jr., stating that he put so much of himself into Iron Man. Is he doing the same for Doctor Doom? And Joe Russo said this: it's a very intense process developing the character. He is so immersed in it. He is so dialed in. Then Anthony Russo said that's the kind of artist that he is. That's the kind of actor that he is. And Joe Russo said he's writing backstory. He's writing costume ideas. We were just on the phone with him this morning before we got here talking about it, and this interview released today. So we expected nothing less from Robert Downey Jr. He is fully immersed in this character, going into Doom's backstory, which is something that we were wondering about as fans. We were wondering if there was enough time to actually tell Doctor Doom's backstory in the MCU, because there is a lot to his backstory. There's a lot with his parents, with his mother and Mephisto, with Latveria, with Valeria, his romantic interest, him getting his face scarred. We were wondering how they're going to tackle everything, or if they're even going to try. Are they just going to introduce Doctor Doom and just say, hey, this is the villain? Then maybe when we get the rebooted MCU, we get a new Doom, and that's when they go into his backstory. Well, it sounds like both are going to happen. We're going to get a backstory for Doom, and it sounds like they've been working on it really, really hard. And they did do a good job for Thanos in Avengers Infinity War. Thanos was introduced to us and shown to us multiple times throughout the Infinity Saga. However, if you weren't really a comic book fan, you didn't really know who Thanos was. But once he showed up, they did a really good job on Titan when he's talking to Doctor Strange, explaining his backstory. They also showed us other flashbacks as well, like the scene with Gamora, showing us who Thanos is, showing us why he's setting out to do what he's doing. Unfortunately, that was destroying half of the universe, but we understood why. They did a good job at showing us that, and they're going to do the same for Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom. Now, can they show us everything that we want? Probably not. I'm sure they're going to go over Latveria. I'm sure they're going to go over his parents dying. I hope they do something with him going to college in the US with Reed Richards being Reed's roommate. Hopefully they show him trying to make a device to go to the Hell Dimension to communicate with his mother. That's how he gets scarred. It blows up. And also him learning sorcery. And then of course, eventually showing how he gets involved with the whole multiverse battle. I do think we can get that, but it's going to be pretty brief. But hey, just seeing all that would be really awesome. Now, when it comes to the run times for Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, the Russo Brothers did talk about the run times, but it's really interesting to hear them talk about this because from what we've heard, the scripts aren't even done yet, and the movie hasn't begun filming. So it's really interesting to hear them talk about runtimes when we don't have any of that yet. But nonetheless, they do have an idea of what they want. When speaking with Collider in an interview about the runtimes, Joe Russo said, if I were a betting man, I would say the first one is 2.5 and the second one's 3 hours. And that's basically what Infinity War and Endgame were at. Avengers Endgame clocked in at 182 minutes, so 3 hours and 2 minutes. And Avengers Infinity War is 2 hours and 29 minutes, so they are basically aiming for the same thing that they did with the previous two Avengers films that they directed. And speaking of the past two Avengers films, they were asked by Games Radar in a recent interview if the goal is to beat their previous two films, in which Joe Russo replied, yes, absolutely. We want to beat those younger versions of ourselves. When speaking about being better, he said, we have to be, right? Because we have to outdo those movies in a way, or we at least have to take you on an equally engaging journey. So yes, the goal is to set out to make a great movie or a great two movies when it comes to Doomsday and Secret Wars, but the goal goes beyond that, not just to make a great movie, but to make these movies specifically better than Avengers Endgame and Avengers Infinity War, which is no easy task at all because for most of the fandom, those two movies are the best to come from Marvel Studios. And Anthony Russo added, these movies are an incredible opportunity for us, and they're an incredible opportunity for audiences. So we're doing what we can to deliver the experience everyone, I think, hopes for. And absolutely, that is what we all hope for, even though the multiverse saga probably wasn't as good as it definitely could have been. And in my personal opinion, so far, the Infinity Saga was better, but that does not mean that it can't end better than the Infinity Saga. It doesn't mean that Doomsday and Secret Wars can't be better, because I do believe they can and will be better. And to top it all off, the Russos have revealed that they are going to try to keep everything just as much of a secret as they can. When asked about the concerns of paparazzi taking set pictures in an interview with Collider, the Russo brothers explained that they're taking precautions. Joe Russo said, we're pretty good about shutting that down. And Anthony said, we've sort of strategized to hopefully be effective with that. When Collider said, it sounds like much of the movie is going to be filmed on sound stages, which means inside, Joe Russo said, we'll be doing quite a bit of that. We don't want people getting photographs, so we are being pretty stringent. And Anthony explained that they chose their filming locations very intentionally, saying the location work we are doing, we have picked those locations with that in mind as well. So they don't want anything getting out. They don't want a first look at Doctor Doom, Robert Downey Jr.'s Doom, any possible cameos or variants that might be in this movie, characters that we might not know are going to be in the film. They don't want any of that getting out. And they're going to do everything they can to prevent any type of set photos from getting out. And with the Fantastic Four, Marvel recently did a pretty good job as well. We only got a few set photos, and you can tell that they didn't really care about the ones that were being took. Like, we got some of Reed Richards, but he wasn't in his full Fantastic Four suit. It kind of just looked like Pedro Pascal. We got some of Vanessa Kirby, we got some of the Thing, but for the most part, it was kept really well under wraps, and they did do everything that they possibly could do to hide that secret cameo, that secret person on set. To this day, we don't know who it is. So I'm sure they'll be able to keep Secret Wars and Doomsday a secret, but go ahead and let me know what you think about everything that they just said in all of these interviews in the comments down below. Are you more excited for Avengers Secret Wars and Doomsday? Because I know I am, but let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest Marvel news, rumors, or leaks. You can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.